Yeah, and I think what's so crazy is that these guys are so clueless that they don't even understand their duty as leaders, right? They don't understand the power dynamic. And I think, Thorin, what you're saying is true, that probably like their opinion is that, oh, we're just friendly people who want to have a social interaction. They don't see themselves as like they don't understand the power dynamic that is causing these women to interact with them under these circumstances because they are socially fucking clueless. And I think this is where we can bridge into the cultural aspect, because there's a tactic that all of these game companies use, which is that they are effectively cults. Riot is a cult. Blizzard is cult. I can tell you I have worked in these environments. And there are very specific reasons why they do this. Most of the time, it's to retain employees, which is the same thing a cult does, by the way, to retain followers. And it's to exploit people and to abuse their work ethic because it keeps you trapped in. And what I mean by they're a cult is they're a specific company culture. You might ask yourself, why do these companies, like, why do they have all these outings that are paid for by the company? Why do they have all these social events? Why do they have cafeterias that are inside the campuses? And I can tell you from working with people at these companies that their entire world is Riot. Their entire world is Blizzard. They work out.
They make it like a lifestyle, don't they?
It's a lifestyle. You never leave during the day. You go to the cafeteria. You go eat there. You date people at the company. Which, by the way, one of the reasons why all of this weirdness happens is because if you're Activision Blizzard and only 20% of your workforce is female, there's a lot of competition for women. Like, and people are going to do weird shit because there are very few like dateable employees. But why do all of the employees of these companies end up in relationships with each other constantly? Exactly. I've never seen that to the same degree anywhere else in any other industry, where it's like it's incredibly incestuous. Yes. And so, but here's the thing, guys. By the time that they own your entire existence, by the time that you're not leaving campus every day and you have all these benefits and you're working out there and you're taking classes, like they offer classes, and these are all touted as huge benefits, or you're doing these like after work gatherings, or they offer social engagements. We have a D&D group and we're going to play at the office after work. Like the problem is that once you get in deep, just like with a cult, it's impossible to get out, because if you leave, you lose your entire social network because it has been built for you by the company. And so then also, here's the lines they feed you. And they do this at major developers. Oh, this is such a special job that you have. You're so lucky to be here. We have an inclusive environment, even though that's clearly not true at any of these companies. But they say it over and over and over again, so you believe it's true. And so they gaslight you. And you say, well, why am I suffering? If you're a woman, why am I suffering this sexual harassment? We're a progressive company. I'm so lucky to work here. It must not be serious. Yeah. And that's what happens.
And those are all lines that people in toxic relationships say to people, like, no one else would love you except me, Yeah, all that shit, of course, yeah.
And so to me, like, the primary problem here, and to go back to why this won't change, is because the companies themselves create an atmosphere that is that can be abused by abusive people. And I'm not saying it's all bad. There's a lot of creativity that happens. If you get people together outside, well, maybe, they strike on something while they're participating in another activity, but it is incredibly likely to be abused. And it is exactly the same tactics that cults use. Exactly. This is the cult playbook. And you're opting into it. And also what this does is it creates retaliations from the company where, somebody outside the company said, hey, man, this company's kind of messed up what they're doing. And everybody's like, no, we're great. And even if you are being abused, you can lash out at people who are trying to expose, shed the light on it. So, I mean, I personally have never been interested in these company cultures. Like, I didn't participate in anything really on Blizzard's or Riot's campuses at any point in time. I was never, in my entire esports career, I'm married to somebody from esports, but she is the only person I have ever employee of these companies, been in any kind of relationship, even 1 minute of, some sort of hookup or anything, never happened. But these people engage in this culture, this very incestuous culture the entire time. And it's weird, guys. It's super weird. No, I mean, I think the culture itself is an enormous problem. And what the companies think is like, this is bringing our employees together. And they also do it because it justifies them paying people less money. Because if people are saying, well, I got all these benefits. Now, do the dollar value of those benefits, is that really the difference between what you would make in your position versus working, as a programmer, working at a video game company versus working at Google or another software development company? No, like the difference of it's people do it for the lifestyle, but the lifestyle is abusive.
I don't give a fuck if it's a ping pong table. Like, pay me more money.
Exactly.
Or if you're going to provide all these benefits, like, also make sure you're putting resources towards making sure that they're done in a way that creates safe company culture.
Another thing I actually think that's really messed up in this scenario as well is, if you work for these companies, you've got to stop being the useless idiot shock troop when the initial allegations come out. Like, I don't want to hear this shit story I've had to heard in the esports industry for the last 20 years, which goes like this. Oh, wow, something incredibly horrific has been done by someone who I'm not around all the time and therefore could never find out. But I've had some beers with him. Seems like a cool guy. What the fuck relevance would that be? But that's what you all do for the companies you work for. Until it gets really, really big and it's like you can't avoid the sheer momentum of it and bury your head anymore, people will just say stupid shit. Like, I can vouch for him. It's like someone they barely even know in the company, like they met them 2 times at a BlizzCon or something, or they just saw him in the office and he seems cool. Well, I don't know if you've ever seen documentaries, but every single documentary about serial killers goes like this. The neighbor goes, it always seemed like a quiet guy, just came out for his milk. It's like, yeah, because in the time he took him and stepped down and get the milk, he didn't go, by the way, I'm going to kill loads of women. Like, you're not going to find that out. So stop being the idiot shock troop that tries to sort of like sanitize these stories. If it isn't to do with you or someone in your group that you can vouch for, just fucking hands off, because people end up playing it, running interference for super creative people. They don't know how dangerous they are.
I think the worst example isn't necessarily that guy, although there's a ton of those. It's the one that leaves the company and then says,
the born again one. Yeah.
Not a surprise to me. I just wish I could have done more. I think one of the worst things about this, and like people have no concept of optics, evidently. I have seen so many people go, known about this for years, glad it's finally out on social media. Why the fuck did you not say anything?
Yes.
Like, that is mind-blowing to me that you would feel comfortably publicly saying it. Yeah, I knew there was all these atrocities being committed, didn't mention it, didn't do anything about it, but now that there's a lawsuit and we can all talk about it publicly. I mean, one of the things I'll get into in a second when we sort of move forward is, I want to talk about the journalists and how fucking derelict they've been.
Oh, yep.
In every singular instance that this has occurred. But for me, I just think, like, it's one thing to be afraid because you're under the yoke, so you can't talk about it publicly. No one would condemn you for that. But if you're somebody who's in a position of power, authority, left the company, which is another reason why these never-ending NDAs are fucking insidious, guys. And all due respect, Krista, I'm sick and tired of lawyers telling me it's perfectly normal to have a fucking non-disparagement clause that lasts for 5 years after I leave a company. Not on my fucking watch, but anyway, whatever.
Well, here's Richard. Hilariously, I didn't have one in my Overwatch League contract, which is why I can say a bunch of the stuff that I'm saying, because they were
just incredibly
stupid. They were incredibly stupid and didn't put one in.
There wasn't one person on their legal team that was like, this is Monty, we should probably put at least a 1 year end non-disparagement here.
It's crazy, isn't it?
But yeah,
I want to circle back on something you said, Rich, which is all these people that are coming out to say, look, I've known about this for the last however many years, I'm so glad it's coming out. Like, agree, it's totally fucked up. Like, I'm glad people are speaking out, and it feels good to watch people pile on to Activision and Blizzard, but it's fucked up that people will admit they've known something for so long, didn't do anything about it, but are doing so now for the social media points. And they feel like it gives them some more credibility, or somehow places them above everybody else that's upset by saying, like, well, I knew this first. Like, it's basically like, I was a fan of this band before it was cool.
It's like sexual harassment hipsters. It's weird.
Yes. That is what it is.
So, I'll even give an explanation here that I've made. I made this point on the past episode about people who work in the industry. So very quickly, one of the other areas, just like what I was just describing, that I get annoyed is when people who work as talent, like commentators, analysts, if you are not at a tournament and you criticize the tournament, they sometimes do the same thing. They'll think, but I'm at the tournament. The tournament's success is kind of my success right now. And they'll defend the tournament organizer. I always tell them, no, it's the other way around. While you're at the event, we get why you can't call them out. So here's what you do. You feed us the info privately that is fucked up about the event, and we can publicize it. You still get to work there. That's why it doesn't work when these people come forward, either journalists or even worse, people who were in the companies, and they go, well, I knew all about this. There's a million people you could have secretly leaked that to, which would never have any blowback to you, but actually people could qualitatively have helped some of the people in these stories. But they didn't, and so as we're pointing out here, you're actually the worst person in all of this, because you knew what was going on, you did nothing about it, which, by the way, implies you are on some level tacitly fine with it. You're just fine with working for companies like that. Even if you did a one-day walkout, that doesn't, believe it or not, wash you dry of all your sins. But then even worse, you didn't even attempt to, like, put the info out there. So what you did is you were just a fucking black hole the info went into and never escaped out of. Like, it's so easy to just give a tip. Like, Richard has fucking anonymous ways you can even contact him. Yeah, exactly.
And here's my problem, and like, to go into what's been going on. So like, Greg Street is a great example because he's been tweeting a lot about this because he obviously is concerned about his job at Riot, given that Riot is in a place right now where they basically can only have a zero tolerance policy because, and here's the reason why. They didn't take any action on their sexual harassment. They didn't fire anybody. So now they just have to be on like a hair trigger, right? Because they didn't do anything. And then, you know, he's coming from literally screenshots of him being in these conversations. And even if he did nothing, here's the thing about courage, guys, where he says, oh, I would definitely do something now. That's not courage. When everyone agrees with you, it's super easy to do the right thing. When you are in the chat and there are people saying, bring the hot chicks to the Cosby suite so we can fuck them all, is the implication. And you say, and do nothing, that isn't courage. So the thing about Greg, the thing about courage and you being a coward is that it's easy to say what you're saying now, but what's the next hard thing to say? I don't have any faith that you are going to do the hard thing because you have shown no spine in the past. And so even if you did nothing, you obviously, and I assume he would say, well, I reported this to HR, or here's some other chat logs that prove that I said something in response to this. He would produce those at this point in time, had he done something. But there isn't tangible evidence. And here's a concept from the military, guys. So there's a thing called stolen valor in the military, which is extremely serious. It is, in fact, a federal crime to say basically that I received this military decoration for being in combat or for other things, and to use it to burnish your reputation, to get money, to get jobs. It is illegal. And what I want you guys to understand is that what we are seeing right now is the effectively stolen valor in these social media posts, because these people have never taken an action. And now they're saying like, oh, but I'm the person who would take an action, or like, there's no proof, guys. You need to follow the people who are actually standing up, who are taking risk onto themselves. Because the concept of stolen valor is that somebody took a risk to themselves in order to receive this honor. And you guys just go ahead and you believe everything you hear on social media and you say, this person is honorable. But there's never any evidence or any actions that they have ever taken to win that honor. They are just saying the thing you want to hear. So
oh, sorry, go on.
But I'm just saying, instead of just believing that, why don't you look at the people who did things and say, these people deserve our respect and they deserve the honor in this situation?
Like, one thing I'll say as well that I find ridiculous is I don't ever want to hear that sort of sob story of like, oh, I knew about it, you know, we couldn't do anything, but I'm glad it's out now. I don't ever want to hear that if you were like a really key game designer or middle manager executive, because guess what? It's your friends that did it all. Like, you almost certainly, as we've just described, were in the social settings where you were around all these people, and most of them probably are literally your real friends in real life. Because as we pointed out, these companies blur the bounds between professional life and then then going home. Like it's just all work. So as a result, like you was a reason you didn't speak out about it and you didn't do anything about it. And it isn't just that you were scared for yourself. It's that you'd actually have to start calling out by name in certain cases real friends of yours. Because I've seen a lot of people, like the worst ones are the riot ones, Monty. Because I've been to parties where I've seen those fuckers sat next to the other guy having a beer, but then later they're like pretending like, oh, and I heard there were people like that in the company. It's like, it's your mate. It's literally your friend. What are you talking about? Like, if you cared about this, you would do something about it. You're actually telling us now to expressly not have to do anything about it. This is the doing something about it. The tweet is the fucking story. That's the joke to these people. The tweet should be the beginning of the story. Now I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Or I wish I'd done this once. They don't. There's never a course of action attached to it. It's almost like, damn it. Well, on the next one, I'll be sure to speak up. It's like, how many do you need, mate? How many chances to be a good person do you need?
It's like storming the beaches of Normandy like 10 years later.
Motherfucker, you need to have a go for like a fucking 0.2 or batting rating. Like, you got to go, swing for some of these motherfuckers. You got to just let them all go. I don't know enough about baseball to finish the analogy there. I'll just leave it at that. Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.